it was fantastic all the way around from year 2014, I remember. You know, the first camera came into my hand was Alpha 7. It was just a starting of a full frame mirrorless camera, and it made revolution. Not that fast, but then it worked for most of the professionals around the world. And then Alpha 7 Mark II came in, Mark III, and now we are so excited with the Mark IV around with 61 megapixel camera. And you know, for me, it's not the game changer, it's game over, right? People say, you know, this camera is a game changer, but after using this briefly in my Kenya tour, I found that this is a remarkable camera for any pro in the world. You know, you get the resolution and you get the speed, of course, together. So it's a bundled for any photographer. So I'm hoping that, you know, we'll be producing more innovative products in the near future as well, along with the artisans and worldwide photographers, and it would be a great journey. And never to forget the lenses G Master, which are like icing on the cake. You know, with G Master and Sony cameras and Sony sensors, so the image quality is superb. Yeah. Of course, as I mentioned that, you know, it's like cutting edge technology which makes them apart. They are beautiful looking. I'm wearing it every day with my attire, and you know, and the image quality is so remarkable. So other brands are still suffering from the Sony fever all the time. And one thing which is very important for me as a photographer is like, the photography is art of seeing for me. So whatever I see, I need to capture it in my camera. So the best technology I can ever achieve is electronic viewfinders, which gives me like 3 things before the picture is made even. Like I see the depth of field, I see the color balance and exposure, all 3 together before even the picture is made. So that is for me the real thing for Sony, which is delivering awesome results to me. Yeah. First is like having a latest camera in the hand as a photographer is always very, very thrilling, right? And for me, this works perfect because they have changed the grip a little bigger. And especially for people like me with a bigger palm, you know, it makes more sense to have a better grip for handling. And then beautiful feature I can see is the separate dial on the top, which makes life easy while changing the parameters. And then we have a lock on the compensation, which is remarkable. And you are shooting 61 megapixel on 10 frames per second is a beautiful feature. And suppose I do a lot of wildlife expeditions, and I was using this with a crop mode, and I still receive 26 megapixel image. So both these features are so good about the new camera. Not to miss, the response time of autofocusing is too fast in comparison to the A7R Mark III. So the moment I turn it to my eye and think of my subject, the focus is already there. So that makes it a very, very impressive proposition for a photographer like me.
Actually, it's my pleasure to be here as part of the Artisan group. It's a lovely community and apt for a product like Sony Alpha, especially because I think Alpha is like #1. And 3 years ago, when I started with this journey with Sony and Alpha, the one thing that I wanted to do, no matter what, was to adapt myself or change myself into and embrace new technology. And I think Sony was the only company then giving me that new technology. So it's been a lovely journey so far. Last 3-4 years has been, I've tried all the cameras, all the new releases that Sony came out after in Alpha 9 especially. And it's been a super journey as far as I'm concerned, because from a wildlife perspective, I think what Sony has got here is a real boom for wildlife photographers. See, one of the most important thing is I know there is fantastic resolution now with 61 megapixel, because in wildlife what happens is we're always looking for reach. You know, you need to go closer and closer. But with these lenses and the Alpha 7 R4 now, it's something amazing, because at 61 megapixel, and even if we have to crop, I get a 24 megapixel resolution, which is what I used to use on an Alpha 9 or a 6400. So it's kind of amazing to do that, because I can now take a landscape picture and then convert it into a portrait mode without losing much resolution. So that's something to me amazing. The second thing, I think what I love about this particular new release of the camera is the fact that it has two cards, and both the cards are UHS 2, or the SD XE2. So the best part is, we need fantastic cards and also cards which read fast, and the camera which gives us a lot of buffer, because a lot of shots get taken when there's some action, and we need a lot of buffer. And for a 61 megapixel camera with this kind of buffer is amazing. The other aspect of this is also the battery life. I mean, the one thing which changed my mind into completely switching over to Alpha was the battery. It works wonderfully well, and over the last 3 years I have had no problems running out of batteries on the field, which I think was simply amazing. And the other thing is they've taken a lot of our feedback, and Sony has been a company which I think has listened to all the artisans, listened to all the photographers, listened to all the users, and taken their feedback very seriously, and are now coming out with cutting edge technology. Using this feedback, I think it is very, very important, because ultimately it's the user who would give you the best feedback. And when a company adopts the technology from the user, I think there's nothing like it. Budding wildlife photographer, first and foremost, treat wildlife not as your subject, but as something, as a treasure that you are capturing, one fleeting moment that happens in wildlife, which can last for eternity, because the wildlife around the world, unfortunately, is diminishing very quickly, and only us humans can actually, kind of intervene to do something about it. And wildlife photographers' challenge is to bring that element out at any given point in time. So if, as wildlife photographers, we treat wildlife as just a subject, then I don't think we are doing enough justice to the genre itself. So one of the things that we need to do is to start loving wildlife. Even if you don't click the picture, just enjoy that moment. And then the second most important thing is to always move on with technology, go on adopting it, because the moment you do that, you can relay information faster to the world in today's emerging technology. I think everybody says patience and everything else. Of course you need patience, but it's not just patience which matters. Perseverance is more important. So in wildlife photography, you miss 95% of your shots. So it's for the 5% that you strive for, and that 5% don't give up. And that 5% will be your 100% success. That's my message.
Hi, my name is Amar Ramesh, and I'm a wedding photographer from Chennai, India. And I've been one of the early adapters of Sony. I've been with Sony for almost 5 years now. The journey began with the company in 2014, and it has been one hell of a journey. So when it comes to taking care of their artisans and mentors, Sony has definitely been a class apart, and today's event is a testimonial for that. And so one of the main reasons I am with Sony is from early on, it has reduced the weight of the camera system. As a wedding photographer, I'm carrying 2 cameras almost 8-9 hours every day during my wedding shoots. So the Sony cameras have literally reduced the physical pain that I endure as a wedding photographer. And I truly believe when there is a physical pain, you mentally cannot think creatively. And in that sense, Sony has helped me a lot. And not only that, I do a lot of personal projects which involve a lot of Indian heritage, customs, and which involves colors, a lot of colors, and also a lot of freedom in the dynamic range. With the amazing dynamic range in these cameras, you know, I've had literally shots where I've taken details from silhouettes. So it's been a phenomenal journey, and I look forward for the event today, and I look forward for the new Alpha 7R4. Thank you. So one of the important messages that I can give for budding photographers is, first, understand whether photography is your excitement or your passion, and to find out if it's a passion, it generally takes few years, not few months or few days. So try photography for a while. It starts as an excitement, it starts as a fun thing to do, and when you really do it long enough, at least a couple of years, then you know, okay, this is something you're very mad at and very passionate about. Then jump into it. Don't jump into it without any, I would call parachutes. When you're jumping out of the flight or a plane, you can't jump without a parachute, right? So jump with the parachute. That's the message I can give for young budding photographers.
So I've been using Sony for past almost 1.5 years, and earlier I was using some different thing, and the thing that I loved about Sony is the speed. I mean, I'm a physics graduate, so I understand the scientific part of it, and I found a huge difference in the hardware part of it, and as well as the software part of it. I mean, the artificial intelligence and the way, I mean, it leaves everything to your the technical part to the camera, and you just need to focus on your creativity. For wildlife photography, one major thing that I look at for 7R4 is that it's a full frame, whatever 61 megapixels. So typically wildlife photographers, they get a crop sensor, and because they want long focal lengths. So in this simple one camera, you get a full frame as well as a 26 megapixel crop, which is the need of wildlife photography. So you have the 200-600 lens. Otherwise, wildlife photographers would carry different bodies, one for a full frame, one for a crop sensor for that long focal length. And with this, I feel it as a hybrid. 26 megapixel crop sensor is the wildlife requirement. So that way it will work wonder for wildlife, and of course the battery life, and I believe the grip is also much more comfortable. So that's amazing. Some of them I already met earlier, but we were just interacting online, and first time we interacted with each other, we had some discussions amongst each other. So that was a wonderful thing that Sony has done, getting us all together physically, and sharing some info, the technical part of it, or maybe the business part of it, whatever. So that was a wonderful journey.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Since 3 years, I'm following this Alpha community, so I'm using Alpha cameras. I'm quite happy, and I'm so happy because some cameras like Sony 7R Mark III camera, I feel like that is they made only for the wedding photography, because I'm a wedding photographer. So I'm so happy to using those cameras. So more quality, always we run for the quality wedding photographers, and more speed, because South Indian weddings now it is happening like anything, so speed. So we're looking for these two, and anyway I will get the resolution, that definitely I will believe that.
My journey's been amazing. It's been 2 years since I've actually become an artisan, but I obviously knew about Sony before that, and I'd used it once while I was shooting with the wedding filmer, and because they were shooting weddings, wedding videos, and very low light situations, they had been telling me about how incredible it was in low light and how much more they were able to capture. And after I had my third child, I had various back issues, etc. And I was told quite categorically that I could not carry the same amount of weight that I had earlier. And so I remembered when I had been shooting with the wedding filmer that these cameras were very light because they were mirrorless. And that's when I sort of thought that, you know, I need to change the way I'm shooting, and I need to change the equipment that I'm shooting with, because my body had changed, and I also then needed a change of my camera body. And that's when I shifted to the mirrorless system, the Alpha system. And honestly, I haven't looked back in those 2 years, because I think every few months, not even every year, but every few months, they are building on their technology that's already so incredible in terms of resolution, in terms of low light capability. And they're just making things much faster for photographers, especially for myself as a journalist or a documentary photographer. I find it very, very useful to have gear that can work as fast as I would like it to. So like I said, I'm a documentary photographer or a journalist, and when I'm on location, I don't have a lot of time to set things up. I don't set anything up. I'm watching and I'm waiting for things to happen, and I have to just react. And therefore my camera has to react with me, and everything has to be ready to go. So I'm not putting filters, I'm not setting up tripods, I'm not doing any of this stuff. I'm just waiting. And we don't know when the action will happen. So it needs to, my camera and myself have to start, like, we just have to be sprinters. You just have to get off the block and just start shooting. And I feel luckily now that my camera and I, the way that we work, the way that we understand the movements of each other, where things are, it's become quite intuitive, it's become quite seamless. And I feel that's really what I require from my equipment, that it's fast and it's capable and it's precise and it captures the emotions as they are happening. Honestly, I keep getting surprised. I don't even know that I need more stuff, but apparently I do. So I think there are people who are thinking about these things much more than I am. To be honest, I'm quite happy with what is available to me at the moment. I think, I'm honestly very content. So I don't have any more requirements from Sony Alpha 7. If they want to give me more stuff in terms of features, I'm happy to receive them.
First of all, I would I'm really glad and happy to be here in such an atmosphere, with all the Sony family, and I'm really happy to be a Sony artisan as well, a brand which has been so innovative and which is even more, being so forecasted, and then it's really an innovative brand, and I'm really happy to be a part of a Sony artisan family. And then I was using Nikon bodies, and then I was listening to this, I was really watching closely how Sony has been operating, like how fast, how forecasted they are, and that's when I really wanted to move ahead to the mirrorless, because they were the first ones to come in, and they were very fast as well, very ahead as well from other brands in mirrorless cameras. So I really wanted to come in very fast, and then it's been really a great journey. My first mirrorless body was A9, straight into it, me being a wildlife photographer. And it's been really good, because my photographs, I really concentrate more on compositions. So moving focus points is very important for me in that way. So be it Sony A9, be it A7R3, all these cameras have been really fast in moving subjects, and it's been really helpful for me as well. And A7R3, I'm really excited to be here for the launch of A7R3. I know it's such a cute little camera, but then it's such a beast which has 60 megapixel in there, and then also me as a wildlife photographer, frames per second, it's very important for me. It's gonna shoot 10 frames per second, and each and every frame is gonna be 60 megapixels, and that's really exciting, and I'm really hoping, really looking forward using it. Also, the best thing about this Sony A7R4 is what I'm very much looking forward is the crop thing, like, because we wildlife photographers, we don't set things up. So, you know, we try to focus, we try to compose something, but then all of a sudden it may change this, starting from light, and then not just light, the animal behavior and everything might change all of a sudden. For example, if I can give you an example, if a cheetah is chasing something, and then if all of a sudden if it moves direction, I cannot move the focus point all of a sudden. We may have to recompose end of the day, and for recomposing we may have to creative crop, we may have to crop it a lot, and then in this camera, even if I crop 50%, that's gonna give me, like, you know, more than 5,000 resolution in the longer side, which is the Sony A9's full frame resolution. So, you know, that's something else. So, you know, I would call it a small, you know, big little beast. So yeah, I'm really looking forward, happy to be here. Thanks to Sony to be.
I think my entire journey with Mommy Shots is a very private one. To be invited by expecting couples to capture their phase of maternity, the prenatal phase, as well as to capture pictures with their children is quite a privilege, to be honest. Of course, it's an absolute delight working with children. It's what I call my form of cardio every day. But I think it comes with a lot of trust and responsibility and a lot of skill and patience. The entire experience of capturing children has become a lot smoother ever since I switched to Sony cameras, and it's been a very seamless experience, to say. The first thing being lightweight makes me very agile and helps me move very quickly with kids. Like I said, they're my form of cardio, and I have to keep up with them. So that way, Sony has been a blessing in so many ways. And there are exceptional features such as its capability of working in low light, and of course the eye autofocus feature, which helps me never miss a shot. And the other immense features that it comes with has really changed my game while working with kids.
My journey with Sony Alpha basically started about 1.5 years ago, and I work in the field of social documentary and wildlife. So I think for me the biggest impression I had was I fell in love with how light the equipment was, because I go a lot outdoors and I trek through a lot of forests, and there's a lot of tedious work that happens. So I have to carry a lot of the camera equipment myself. I don't have assistants. So I think that's the biggest point that I fell in love with Sony for. So the first experience I had with using Sony Alpha was I was given the cameras to test, and the next shoot that I had was to film otters in southern India. So I got the 200-500, the prime lens, and I used that, and it was beautiful because it just enabled me to get really close to the animals. That was something that I hadn't been able to do before. Since I've just been moving into filmmaking recently, I think one of the main things for me is the auto eye focus and the animal focus, because I do wildlife and social documentary. So I think that's one of the problems that we face using the manual focus when it comes to videos. So that's something I'm really looking forward to using.